What is up, Retromaniacs? My name's Mike, his name's Joe, his name's EP, and we're here to talk about cards. Recently, I did an interview on the Basketball Card Nerd channel, and I was asked a question, how we got into collecting, and I thought it'd be kind of fun to go around the horn here and talk a little bit about our history in cards and how we got into the card hobby. Joe, from your phone, let us know. How'd you get into this?
So I actually wasn't into sports when I was a kid. I was into like the Marvel and the animated shows, like the DC animated shows. Loved Spider-Man, X-Men, Batman, GI Joe. Transformers was a big one for me. Really loved Transformers back then too. So I went to my local card shop, which wasn't Mike's Upper Deck at the time. It was the sports page. I know, the big losers that they were. And I bought my first cards from them. It was 90 Marvel Universe. I bought a few packs. They were probably what back then, Mike, 50 cents, 75 cents a pack.
Yeah, maybe.
And I pulled a black suit Spider-Man, which I thought was like the freaking coolest thing ever. I made a comment about it when we were talking to Dennis on the live stream on Thursday with Dustin that I put it in a snap tight. And I was so obsessive compulsive about it that I would like take it out of the snap tight and make sure it was still in great condition. But every time I did that, the condition got worse and worse because that's like the whole point. Don't take it out once it's in the snap tight. So, but yeah, that was my first foray into cards. And I didn't start collecting sports cards and probably until the mid 90s.
EP in the darkness down there.
Yeah.
How'd you get into it?
I mean, there's a like multiple. Very first, one of my earliest memories in my life is asking my dad what he was watching. He said it was the baseball game, and I said to him, "Who were the good guys and who were the bad guys?" Because that's how young I was, and that's why I thought
Okay.
of it. And he said, "Well, the Yankees are from New York," and so he said, "Well, it doesn't work that way. What the Yankees are from New York," and so I was, that's why I'm a Yankees fan now, and so that kind of stuck with me. Then, so over the years, like young, I don't remember ever getting the packs myself, but I have some 1984 tops, some 1983 tops, excuse me, some different things here and there. But it wasn't until 1989 when I was at a Little League game, and they had packs of cards at the concession stand, and I bought a couple packs, and so then I got those packs. But the real one, which you guys all know, 1990, the first money I ever made, 1990 Donruss. I spent the first $20 I ever made doing anything and bought a box of 1990 Donruss baseball, and that's really where I kind of got hooked. It was for me, it was sports the whole way through. I do love the other stuff now, but I mean, for me, it was sports the whole way through, and that was like that 1989 was kind of like the first step, and then I dove in with that 1990 box.
Nice. Yeah, when I was younger, baseball was really the first sport I got into. I played a little league. I loved baseball, and I was the kid that knew all the batting stances for all the different batters at the time. And, I used to remember those little pink squishy balls, like bouncy balls,
Mm-hmm.
and they were soft, but they're pink. And at the bottom of our steps, I would throw the ball up to the top of the steps, and it had to hit in a certain area to be a strike. And then, some of them would be hit and they'd come down the steps. I'd have to field it. Like, keep in mind, like the bottom of the steps to like the front wall was about a 3-foot space. So I'm just playing this little game in my head. But I was really into baseball, and I started buying cards, which of course I turned into a game as well. I would place them all out on the floor in their positions and like make the pitcher somehow throw an imaginary finger ball at the batter, and the batter would hit the imaginary finger ball. So, as you can imagine, I needed to get more cards because I needed more players. Like, do you remember Jack Clark? He played for
Padres.
Yeah.
Yep.
I didn't have his card, so I ended up like cutting a picture out of like a magazine and putting it on like cardboard because I needed him. I didn't have him, but I needed him. And like it expanded. I started collecting all the teams because I wanted everybody. So I had all the starters from all the teams. So yeah, I used to have a little store called a Stop and Go down at the corner.
Oh, the Stop and Go.
Yeah. Any spare money I had at the time, I was spending on cards. And yeah, that's how I got into that.
Before we move on, I do have to ask a question, Mike. You are the statistics guy.
Mhm.
You know, stats major. Did you keep stats for all your players for playing fingerball?
I did not keep stats at that time, though. When I got a little bit older, I got into Stratomatic baseball, and you could play those games by yourself because it was just like chance and rolling the dice and the cards and everything. And yes, I played seasons and kept track of every stat from every single game from Stratomatic baseball. So yeah. So
I would be remiss if I didn't mention, since we're recording this the night before our 28th fantasy football draft in our what we call affectionately League One. And that's how I got into football cards. Like, I didn't really collect football cards. Like, here and there, I picked up like some Steelers because I'm a recovering Steelers fan. But it was when I started playing fantasy football, and these guys were like my guys on my team, so I had to collect the cards, which was really tough for me because I traded all the time. So like I'd look for cards of these players, and then the player would be off my team, and I'm like, oh, now I need to pick up these players because now they're on my team. So yeah, fantasy football was a big catalyst for the sports card side of it for me.
Now, when did you start collecting other sports than baseball, EP?
I feel like it's like 1991-ish, probably 1992. Like, it wasn't long after, like 1990, I was all in on baseball. I still love 1990 Topps. Of course, the 1990 Donruss, which I know is not a beautiful card, but I still like it. 90 Upper Deck, all the stuff from 1990. But I don't have a ton of 1990 football. I do have some Pro Set and that sort of stuff. I guess it would have to be around the same thing, because I do have, and now that I say that, I do have a ton of Pro Set. I do have some. I don't think Upper Deck had football until 91, right? That was the first year they did football, I believe. So I didn't have any of that, but I did have Pro Set at least, and some Skybox. Like, I think Skybox might have been around then too. But I mean, I had a few cards from like the 1990. But as far as really getting into both sports, like 93, I think 92, 93 is probably when I really started to kick into both sports.
Yeah, of course, like, I started this around, I don't know, probably 78-ish, I think, is kind of the first set that I really remember having a lot of cards that I actually collected. I had some cards that were older. I have cards going back to 74. I think I had an uncle or something that gave me a whole bunch of 74s back in the 70s. So, but, of course, playing the baseball game was fun, but I had to get into other sports. So, that led to football and basketball and hockey cards even at the time. I knew nothing about hockey, but I could play a made up hockey game on the floor. Yeah, I had a lot of fun playing games on the floor when I was a kid. I also had all my matchboxes, and they would, have races, and I would just slide them around. I went through jeans like every other week. I'd get holes in them, even tough skins where the knees were double patched right through them. So, and have all my cars lined up. So yeah, I would have games. I even had like the big basketball cards. Do you remember those from? I don't know what year they were in the 70s.
Not really. I don't think I had any of those. I had the top.
That was Dr. J's rookie card. Was a big rookie card, right? Or the extra size,
they were like tall boys. Like they were a different.
Yeah,
like
they were in the late 70s there somewhere. Yeah. So I had a lot of those, and I even had a Wayne Gretzky rookie card that randomly, like, wasn't in the greatest shape when I found out it was valuable years later, but.
Was that Gretzky? Did it compete in the competitions? Or was it?
Part of the game? Yeah.
Okay, so that's why. I mean, that makes it even better.
If I could take him out of the case there and show you the corners, he clearly played quite a bit. So, I don't know how many hockey games I actually played at the time, but yeah. So,
I like that you said, just before we move on. I know that you said I think at the show last weekend, you told one of the people there that you bought, if it was at the Stop and Go when you walked in, you were buying it, whatever kind of swear it was. Like that was your.
Yeah. So I was hooked on all that stuff. So, Joe, I know after I closed the shop, I got out of cards for a while. You got out of cards for a while, and tell us a little bit how you got back into this.
So I will say that I did buy like 2 boxes and a few rookie cards between the time that you closed the shop and the time I really got back into it. But I'll tell you what, every time I did, I felt like I was cheating. I felt like I was cheating on Mike. Like I don't think I told you guys I bought boxes. I don't think I mentioned.
Yeah, you didn't
it
tell
all.
me.
But like I bought like a Warren Moon rookie card because he's someone that I associate with my fantasy football team. I bought a box of 08 and 09 Topps Chrome, searching for an 09 Matthew Stafford's rookie. In 08, I was looking for McFadden. I bought some Darren McFadden randomly autographs. Why I didn't buy Tom Brady, beyond me. But no, it's kind of morbid to say, but I got back into it because like a lot of people did with the pandemic. EP actually texted us, and I give full credit to EP on this. He's like, have you guys realized that card prices have been going up? And I go, what? like sports cards, like the stuff we collect? He goes, everything. And I'll never forget, it's the Thanos Infinity Gauntlet card, PSA 10 being worth like $500 or being for sale, for $500. I'm like, I have that card. I know for a fact I have that card. And I didn't. It definitely wasn't a PSA 10. But, when we started talking about this, I'm like, I should really go through my stuff. And I didn't have anywhere near as much stuff as I would have. We jokingly refer to it as the pesky little fire. I lost a lot of stuff in 1998 and further. So all my Peyton Manning stuff, all my Randy Moss stuff, anything before that was pretty much gone. But I did have a hell of a lot of 1999 stuff because I had bought most of that when I had gotten the money back. So, yeah, I had a lot of 1999, 2000, maybe up to 2002. I decided to go through, went through, and like everyone else, pulled them to grade them, and then just started looking through them like, man, these were fun. I should, maybe start actually buying some stuff instead of just selling it off and walking away kind of thing. So that's kind of how I got into it. Now I'm looking for Kenny Pickett, RPAs with dual autos with Dan Marino and things like that. So yeah, when I dove back in, I really dove back in. But my key was I took the money from the stuff I sold and used that to get back in. I didn't really, pull
Good
real
idea.
life money, as I like to call it, into the hobby at all.
So EP, you never really got out of cards, right? You
no, I
stayed
did.
interested, or did you? Okay.
I had a couple of sabbaticals where I didn't collect. Like what happened was there was one point where my eBay account got when you closed down the shop, I didn't really buy anything for a while. Then around 2007-ish, I think it was 2008, my eBay account got hacked, and they wouldn't give me. They would give me credit, but they didn't give me like my money back for the amount that was like taken off my credit card. I was like, okay, whatever.
Wow.
But anyhow, I used that money, you would say stupidly, to buy cards. But that's also when I pulled that Ichiro WBC card, or something along Ichiro jersey card that was crazy. I sold it for like $1,000. I bought a couple more boxes, so like that money never made it into my bank account. I just kept buying a few more boxes there. And then around 2012-ish,
Wait, hold on.
in.
I saved a little bit of alcohol. I saved a little drink for when you said 2012.
So then back in 2012, I started buying cases to buy and flip and keep some stuff, and then that lasted from started 2011 through like 2013, and then again I took a break from 2013 until the Pandy started up, and we started talking about everything, and that's when I kind of got back into it, pretty hardcore, just like you two guys.
Yeah, same for me. I blame you. It's all your fault that we're doing.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
Do you guys remember me though saying, "Oh yeah, I have all this stuff. I'm going to go through it, and I'm going to pick stuff out, and I'm going to get it graded, and I'm just going to sell that stuff. I don't care about cards. Well, I'm going to get all this money." I did that part.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I got back into this too. So yeah. So
in
yeah.
deep, dude. In deep, not just back in.
Yeah. So I basically got back into it to get rid of my leftover inventory that had been sitting in storage from 2004 on, and anybody could have walked up to me and gave me, I'll give you $2,000 for all that stuff, and I probably would have been like, whatever, just take it. And
gosh,
I found a lot
chasing
more than
cardboard is like, son of a bitch.
Yeah, he should have found me sooner. But so yeah, I spent a long time digging through there, and I did send cards off to PSA. I did pretty well with that, made quite a bit of money on the stuff I had that I had nothing into. Keep in mind, that was all written off a long time ago. And I started getting into stack sales. I'm like, hey, this would be a great way to sell off all this stuff. And it absolutely was. But unfortunately, I decided to roll over that money and more inventory and, keep doing it. So here we are. That leads me to the next part. Let's talk about why are we doing this? We're a bunch of guys that are just card nerds that love cards. Yeah. But I mean, I have to say from the beginning, we didn't necessarily really have a plan. We wanted to do break videos. I think we started the channel more so to like archive what we were doing, like with our the PSA. I think we were really into PSA reveals and the graded card reveals. So I think maybe that kind of pushed us to actually record content. But before we could do that, all we could really do was rip. So we started ripping some boxes, and then we started getting some orders back. I know we sent into HGA, we sent into SGC. We had some popularity with like our reveal videos. Joe, you from the start were into cracking cards and sending them into PSA. Like you were doing all that high dollar flipping stuff.
One card, and that was our first video.
Man,
was
rough. I still sweat a little bit.
Cracking that Tom Brady BGS 9. And I couldn't even get a full video out of it. Rob was holding the camera over me, and I crack it, and I crack it again. And I'm like, I was sweating. I was like drenched. I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe I just did this. And I sent it off to PSA. It came back a PSA 9, so I ended up making a little bit of money on it. But the value that the chase was, this was a $4,000 card that if it came back at 10, which I thought it had a real good chance, it's like a $15,000 card at the time. So like it was and even if it came back a PSA 8, it was, I would have lost money, but the risk, the juice was worth the squeeze, as they say. Like it was definitely a risk reward situation. But yeah, that was the first video. And like you said, Mike, we did a lot of retro box breaks that people seem to enjoy. You did some wrestling stuff. I know people like, but what I will say is while I blame EP for the good thing of getting us back into the hobby, I blame EP a little bit for not being able to start the podcast sooner, because
it was my fault
the time. We kept on you and on you and on you, and you were swamped and you couldn't start the podcast. We probably would have started probably 6 months earlier with this amazingness, right?
Amazing.
Yes.
Amazingness.
People may use to use other words, but amazing is definitely one of them.
I kind of think like the YouTube didn't the channel start out as a joke at the very, very beginning? Like we should do a YouTube channel. It was just kind of like half joking about it, only like half
probably a lot of our ideas start out that way.
Right. Yeah. And all of a sudden, it happened, and then we again it was my fault. The podcast was my fault. I 100% agree. We just could never really find time to do it, and then just thinking about the time it would take to do it. But it has turned into, thankfully, me sitting here drinking a beer with you guys, like having a beer, we're talking about sports cards and whatever, and then before and after the show talking about whatever else is on our minds about dumb stuff. So I mean,
gives us a reason to hang out, and I think that's the one thing I don't think that a lot of people might realize, but like we don't do this to be big YouTube stars. We're not doing it to convince people what they should do. We're not influencers, whatever. We say what we think. You don't have to agree with us, but like we're going to keep doing it because we like doing it. It gives us a chance to hang out. We're three guys that have known each other for damn near close to 30 years now.
30 years.
Like
over
it gives us a chance to hang out and just do the stuff we always did when we were at the shop. And I remember talking a lot about like the videos of like, well, it'd be really cool. Like once we get comfortable and like people will really start to be able to see who we are when we're more ourselves, because our early videos are horrible. Like,
they're
oh my,
bad.
like I can't even watch them, but we leave them up there because why not? Like that's
Show
who
the
we were at the
losses.
time.
Gotta show
This
the
is
L's.
yeah.
Yep.
Like if you want to watch bad videos, watch early videos. Most people are that way though, but like we actually enjoy doing this. We enjoy getting together, whether we had 20 people watching or we get 200 people or 2,000 people. It really doesn't matter. We're having fun hanging out virtually. We don't get a lot of opportunity to do this anymore, and cards have kind of brought us together to do that. And like, isn't that really like the great thing about any hobby, like that shared enthusiasm and enjoyment that you get out of something with other people that do the same thing?
Well, and the crazy thing to me is, and I think I brought this up once before. I'm not 100% sure, is that there are a lot of people that talk about how they go to the National to meet the people, the friends that they made in the hobby, where we were friends in the hobby before the YouTube channel,
yeah,
right? You know,
Exactly.
before the boomer thing, and I think that's a
So we're
unique
just
thing
going
that
on
we
a
have.
friend trip.
Right?
Yeah, we are.
So I mean, it's just I think that I think if you look back even to episode 1, which we've referenced a time here or there, like we are still just us. I mean, our backgrounds and everything have changed, but with the conversation is, I think, probably pretty close to what we have every week, because it's just us talking,
us shooting the shit, as we
right,
like to say. Which we did all the time at the card shop,
right.
And we
Go ahead,
did
Joe.
talk about, you talk about these hobbies, that people have these shared connections. Like we had a group chat, probably had 100,000 texts in it about fantasy football, right? And we still talk a lot about fantasy football. In honor of our draft tomorrow, EP has still never won the League One championship. I need to make sure we get that out. But we had that group chat, but we never did this. Like we always joked around that we could be fantasy football analysts because, come on, Matthew Berry does it. But like we never were able to like sit down and do this. But with cards, with that kind of boom, it wasn't so outlandish to think that 3 random guys could just sit in front of their camera and talk about cards, because look at a lot of the YouTube content creators. They're just random guys who are just sitting in front of their phones with their friends, or their, have their box of cards out that they rip or show, their reveals. And it's not, there's the entry isn't as difficult nowadays, to do something like this.
Not a high cost of entry. Yeah,
exactly. Yep. So we transferred that fantasy football thing into a card text thread, which is probably 1 million texts between us, and we've taken it completely to the next level.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a little bit about us, who we are, why we do this. Now, kind of probably boring for some people, but we talk about it. I don't know that we talk about it on video that much, but we talk about it in text a lot too. That like the people that like our channel and like that hang out and show up in the live feeds, like we honestly feel like you're people that would hang out at the shop. Like we had all kinds of characters, and now you're just on here instead of in a physical location, and good, bad, weird, we don't care. Come on in. We'll talk about cards with you. So yeah, that's a little bit about us. Go ahead, EP.
I was going to say, I was going to say that if we left anything out, like if you have any questions about anything we said, please leave a comment below.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I hope
tell
people...
us how you got into cards.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have a lag here, but tell us how you got into cards, or how you got back into cards, or whatever. Like, let us know your story, because I'm interested. We talk to people all the time and reply to comments all the time, but a lot of the time we don't know how these folks got into cards themselves or got back into cards. So let us know in the comments.
Talk to us, because there's one thing that we can all do is talk. We're good at it. So other than that, hope you enjoyed the video, learn a little bit about us, and we'll see you guys next week. See you guys.
See ya.
Boys.